What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream. I'm your host, Henry Kaminski Jr., with my co-host, always Koreshi from the Visual Q. What is going on, my man?
What's up, Henry? Ready to get another week started, man?
Oh, let's get it. Let's get it going. Yeah, this is a topic that I'm very passionate about. Today's live stream, as we continue the series, what would you do if? Is going to be talking about building your authority with your personal brand online. So what would you do if you wanted to build your authority with your personal brand online? How would you get started? What would you do consistently? What are some things you shouldn't be doing? And everything in between. We're going to spend the next 20-25 minutes because I got a hard out in 30. About this particular topic. So let's talk about real quick some of the issues that you might be struggling with. And for all those folks that are watching live, please interact with us. Drop some comments, ask some questions. We're going to get you guys involved as much as we can. All right. So the first thing I see a lot of people struggling with when it comes to building that authority with their personal brand online is these folks have a tremendous amount of experience. They have a tremendous wealth of knowledge. But when they go online, they turn into a minnow because the internet is so big, right? They could be a big fish in a small pond locally, but the minute they hit the internet, now you're a global presence. It's easy to have a local presence. But now what happens when you hit the internet? The world becomes so much bigger, and therefore your authority, your credibility, your expertise, your reputation, your respect isn't as big. So what do you do about that? How about the folks that should be charging a lot more for their products and services, but they can't because they feel like their online presence sucks? It's another big one. What about all those unqualified customers clogging up your sales pipeline? And lastly, what about your online presence not matching the value that you deliver to the people that need your help? That's the biggest one of all.
Yeah.
So which one of those do you want to tackle first?
Well, let's start from the top. Let's start from the top. One of the things that you mentioned, as soon as someone steps into the digital space, the world has gotten so much bigger. They might have the expertise in the back end. They come in with this knowledge and experience that drives so much value to their existing, what I like to call a bubble, in their local bubble. But now when they're expanding that out, they've become diluted because there's so many others that are in the same space, and they might be shouting much louder, right?
Yeah.
They might have a larger presence because they've done the groundwork.
Or presenting themselves in a way that's better positioned. I'm going to give you a little bit later. I'm going to give you an example of a personal brand website that I think is done extremely well, so you guys could get a visual of what a very polished, well-positioned personal brand website should look like. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, to your point, that sucks, doesn't it? Especially if you're the goods and you know that you deliver results, but you're getting creamed by your competition that probably isn't as good as you.
Yeah. And I would say both you and I probably spend a great deal of time working with business owners that are in that same sort of a situation to try to figure out what's really happening there before we even say, okay, well, look, your visual identity isn't as polished and all that, right? I think we spend a great deal of time trying to figure out, do they even know what they're bringing to the table, and are they confident in delivering that on a consistent basis? And I
It's
think
easily.
that's what speaks to having that strong online presence that you talk about.
Mm, sorry to cut you off.
No
You
worries.
just made me trigger. You triggered something in my head. I feel like there's a lot of folks out there that think their messages are on point, think that they're positioned well, think that um, they're doing the right thing until an outside perspective comes along and says, who are you trying to attract?
Exactly.
Right? Because if these are the types of folks that you're attracting and you're not happy with that,
Yeah.
well, I don't necessarily know if a new website design is going to help you
Yeah.
tremendously. It may have some sort of an effect for sure, but will it have the deeper impact that you're looking for?
Yeah.
That's the question. You know,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
the question.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what do you do when you feel like you should be charging more for your product and service, and you feel like your hands are tied behind your back because your online identity looks cheap? It doesn't really represent you. There's a lot of room for improvement, but you've gone through 17 Fiverr designers, you've gone through 4 or 5 copywriters, you've gone through a half a dozen designers and developers, and they're not getting your voice. They're not getting the value. They're not getting your vision. They're not getting what it is that you're trying to do. That's got to be extremely frustrating, no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If it's not reflecting the again, going back to the level of professionalism and the value that you're bringing to your existing client base, if that is not reflecting that, then again, how are you going to be able to drive in the right clients and command the price that you're wanting to acquire for that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you get that right, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but when you get that right, it's a lot easier to close deals. It's a lot easier to close deals because people are going
Yeah,
to disqualify themselves before they even step foot onto your virtual real estate, i.e., your website or marketing funnel, whatever you want to call it. And the folks that feel like you can help them, and you're setting the right example.
correct.
Those folks are going to be like, how do I get access to this person? Right? Okay. Now,
That's right.
let's get into some solutions here. Okay. I wish I could tell you that in 60 days, you're going to have the biggest social media following and everybody's going to be throwing money at you. I wish that was the case because I would be one rich mofo. But that's not the case. This stuff takes a lot of effort. You could ask any of my colleagues that have gotten to levels of success that far exceed mine, that I've had the honor of rubbing elbows with in different groups and different professional settings. This stuff is a compound effect. This stuff you have to do day in and day out. I remember when I first started on social media, I was putting out a video a day, and I must have done that for at least half a year to start. And then I dialed it back a little bit. That's 180 videos in a year. So what you see today, and I still think I need some work. What you see today is 7 years worth of work. I was watching a YouTube video with Chris Doe earlier this morning on my little coffee break, and he was talking about how it took him like 2 years to get like 9,800 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And then fast forward, I think it was last year, he got 17,000 subscribers in a day.
Wow.
Changing his strategy, changing his approach. I was like,
Yeah.
see, this guy moves and shakes.
Yeah.
He figures out what's working and goes all in on that. What does he call himself? A radical
No,
pragmatist or something? Something along those lines.
no, it's something introvert. Um, he talks about the introversion part of it, but I mean,
Loud
he
introvert. He's a
spins it.
loud
Yeah,
introvert.
loud introvert. That is,
But
yeah. There you go.
yeah, we were on a Twitter space together the other day, and he said, I'm a radical pragmatist. I figure out what works and I just go all in
Yeah,
on that.
yeah,
And I'm like, man, that's a really good way of putting you.
exactly.
He doesn't
But
complicate things.
yeah, and well, the thing is that again, if you're doing it consistently over a significant period of time, now you're able to go back and you have data points to be able to analyze and say,
Mhm.
okay, well, this worked. This got a lot of traction. This touched a nerve, right? This topic touched a nerve. This one really didn't really get people. Maybe we can rephrase these things here and there.
Mhm.
So again, but if you're not doing it daily, what gets measured gets done, and
Yeah.
what gets measured gets improved. So topic for another day, sure, but it the way that we're going to weave that into this is that you have to be able to be consistent with being out there, being in front of your customers.
Which brings me to the next question for everybody. Are you willing to invest the time, money, and energy into your personal brand? Because this is I would say, a lifelong investment. This is not something you turn on and off. This is something that you constantly invest in. Okay. I think that's something that we really have to pay attention to. It's
Yeah,
not something that you can throw 25K at and think that you're done. Like you've checked that box off. Yep, personal brand done. No,
it's
that's
an ongoing
something that
process.
needs a lot of work. So,
Yeah.
I'm coming off of a weekend where I've watched for the first time on Netflix The Tinder Swindler, and I put a post out about this over the weekend and it got a lot of traction. And basically the quote that I put out there was, just because the person rolls up in the nicest car doesn't mean that they have gas money. And I don't mean that just by a monetary sense. I mean that by a substance sense. What kind of personality are they bringing to the table? What kind of value are they bringing to the world? What kind of a person they are as an individual, as a human being. So for those folks that, because if I get into this movie, we're going to get way off track and you're going to get me super fired up. But this guy was defrauding all these women, pawning himself off as some diamond icon and, some diamond billionaire, a son of a diamond mogul or something like that. And he was swindling all this money from these women. Half of me says, these women should be a little smarter. Half of me says they didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And, it's a shame. Right. So half of me I feel sorry for, half of them I'm like, oh man, I wish you would have just dug a little deeper.
Yeah. But
Right.
he
But
built an entire image around himself,
completely.
projecting that type of yeah.
So, the guy is a professional con artist. Right. And I see it. And now, what drives me even crazy. And I was cringing at the end.
Yeah. He's
He
still.
sells business advice for $300 an hour.
Yeah.
So like,
And apparently people are buying it.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Gus here has a good point. You got to believe in yourself. And we're going to put this into some real context in a second. So my question is, and Michelle here has a great point. Never compare yourself to an online illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gus says the worst. Yeah.
I
Tell
love
me
it.
about it. My blood pressure was boiling as I was watching the show. So
It's cringy, man. Really
So
cringy.
here's my question. Do you want to build a superficial image online and just share your highlight reels all day long, which 90% of these internet marketers and people on social media that are trying to make a fast buck are doing? Or do you want to create an online presence that's deeply ingrained in the authenticity of yourself and something that people can actually relate to on a human level? I don't know if she's here today, but I want to share a quick example. I did a live stream interview on somebody's podcast not too long ago, and I talked about how I used to volunteer and how I helped myself recover from some things by volunteering. And when that person was watching that live stream, she said, maybe Henry can help me, because her whole life's work is revolving around volunteerism. And that's her profession, believe it or not. And I get it, because I worked in nonprofit for 8 years. It was tough to find a volunteer squad that was reliable. So a lot of people consult with her to build those volunteer teams. It's amazing. But had I not shared that story on that podcast live stream, she would have never booked a brand assessment with me. She would have never made that investment.
Yeah.
That was me coming out authentically and with some vulnerability, sharing that whole story of how I sort of rehabilitated myself without any professional help, just by volunteering at a local hospital in the pediatric oncology ward. That's the stuff that I'm talking about. And that's the stuff that I think you have you were mentioning over the weekend as well. That's what people are going to connect to.
Right. Yeah. Relatability. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I started this journey last year. You and I have been, have been working on this for almost, we're about to hit a 1 year mark in just a few weeks. But it's been a journey, man. I mean, and really the whole point behind that is not necessarily just to get out there in front of my customers, but get out there in front of my ideal clients in a human level, in a way that establishes relatability and gets them to know me and gets them to understand how my company is positioned and the values that we are guided by.
True.
That's what's going to, we've talked about this over and over again about having the right clients come in and filtering out those that aren't a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
The more
and what are people going to buy?
Exactly.
What are people really buying? They're buying your confidence. They're buying you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Trust,
confidence, and peace of mind.
Right. I think that's how a lot of these great businesses get killed, is because they're hiding, or maybe they're not hiding. Maybe they just don't know how to go about presenting themselves online, so they're stuck.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I see many people out there that are struggling with that even now. They're just now slowly dipping their feet in the pond, right? And so you see that progression. If they're consistent with it, you notice that progression from how they were presenting themselves day one versus how they're presenting themselves day 180. Mm-hmm. So it goes back to the whole consistency aspect of it, but also, are they leaning into their value system? Are they leaning into the way that they're showing up and the value that they want to bring to their audience? That's where it starts. That's the top of the funnel.
Yep. And remember, guys, nobody starts as an expert. Nobody starts as a pro at live stream or content creation or anything. I get these time hops all the time on my Facebook from like 5-6 years ago. And my camera on my phone, the lighting's terrible. The conversation itself is all over the place. It's bad. But I kept at it And now, look, 7 years later, with the technology that I use, the outlines that we prepare prior to every single one of these live streams to keep the conversation on rails, you know, this is the work that I was talking about before that you have to put in to make a difference. To make a difference. Everybody's raising the bar in your industry, whether you know it or not. So do you want to get smacked, or do you want to rise with the tide? You know, I was telling my team this on our call this morning. I'm on 3 or 4 of my competitors' emails, right? Because I want to see how they position themselves. I want to see what they're talking about. I want to see where they're coming from, right? And I was and there was an email that I got last week that kind of prompted me to get into this conversation this week. And this person likes to write, so it's a lot of blog content and things like that. So I said, I could let this competitor beat me on this topic and me sit here and do nothing about it because he beat me to the punch and come up with all these excuses why I shouldn't talk about this either. Or do I leverage my resources and get my butt out there the next week on video where I'm the strongest and talk about the same topic in my way, in my voice?
Yeah.
That's the difference, guys. Right? So that's the importance of getting out there and moving and shaking.
Yeah. And don't feel reluctant to discuss the same topic. Again, you know, one of the points that you hit, Henry, is speaking from your perspective. Share your perspective on that same topic. It doesn't matter whether you know, someone else has already posted it.
Put it in
That's
your
what's
words.
going to differentiate you. That's what's going to set you apart and help someone relate with you.
Bingo. Bingo. Before we run out of time, I just want to share a quick example. Business partner of mine, dear friend of mine, his personal brand website. I think it was whoever did it. I didn't do it, but whoever did it did an amazing job because it's straight and to the point. This video is about 2 minutes long. It's a highlight reel of who he is, what he stands for. Here's all the different areas of expertise. He's got a very simple navigation up here, but it really, really sets the tone of polished, professional, premium, no joke. This guy's a celebrity chef. He beat Bobby Flay in a competition, not on Top Chef, in a separate series in a cook-off, which was really awesome. But this guy is sitting on a multi-million dollar enterprise built off of his name. So if you're ever wondering, can a personal brand make it to the 8 and 9 figure mark?
There you
There's
go.
a guy right here that did it. Right? Maybe even 10 figures. I don't even know. But I just want you to get an idea of what I'm talking about when I say leveling up your online presence. That's a perfect example. Clean, polished, professional. This guy spent the money, the time, the energy on the photography, on the layout, on the development. Like, this is the work that needs to get put in. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat this.
He had a vision for his business. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, go ahead. He had a vision for his business.
Yeah, he had a vision for his business, and he was able to, and he was willing to invest into that vision to see how it comes to life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it did, because he found the right people to put it together. That's why him and I are working on this venture that is going to blow your minds. I don't want to talk about it yet because we're still building out some of the architecture. And believe me, in the next 60 days, you're going to see something really incredible come out on his social media and as mine as well as we promote this thing. So, but that's what happens when you get around the right people and you start putting in the effort to get you to getting those results that you're looking for. So listen, this is something that I want you to think about. If you decide that you're ready to invest in yourself and in this personal brand of yours, imagine hitting the right audience with the right message, what that's going to do. Imagine your reach and exposure growing exponentially because your branding and marketing's dialed in. Think about the qualified clients that are going to be coming through your sales pipeline that, and I, honest to God, this has happened to me in the past multiple times. I'm just going through the motions because I know you have a process. Let's just get to the end because I'm moving forward. If you want those types of clients to come in through your sales pipeline, and that puts me in such an awkward position, I'm not going to lie, because I was like, what do I do here? They paid for an assessment. Like, do I rush it? Do I can't? Like, what do I do? And they didn't care. They just said, go through what you need to go through, and we will make sure that everything's signed and delivered by the end of the process. I said, okay.
Wow.
How about experiencing that for once or on a consistent basis?
Yeah.
Right? So again, at the end of the day, guys, you attract what you are. So the quality of your brand will attract the quality of your clients, and the quality of clients will determine the quality of your life. And that is a philosophy that I've been saying and living by for 5-6 years now, and it has paid off in spades. So I want to leave you with this, guys, before we wrap up. If you guys want help with your online presence and you're sick and tired of trying to figure it all out on your own, and you want somebody with the eye and the expertise to get you where you want to be a hell of a lot faster, it starts here. Book the brand assessment. You and I will sit down one-on-one. I'll get more in tune with your business, more in tune with what you want to do, and we will craft a plan to help you get there, whether it's me doing it or me referring you to a partner that can help you at the level that you need the help at. So that brand assessment is extremely valuable in so many ways, because I don't want to see you 6 months from now struggling with the same nonsense that you're struggling with today. Period. And on that note, I got to jump because I got an interview in 2 minutes that I need to jump on another Zoom for. So I hope you got some value out of this. Always, thanks always for contributing to these live streams. And last but not least, guys, make sure you tune in every Monday, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you're not following on YouTube or subscribing on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. We will come back here on Wednesday to talk more in depth about this conversation, because I think the quicker you guys get out there with a more polished and professional look and your messaging is dialed in to the right people, it's a home run, my friends. It's a home run. Have an amazing day, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care. That's